Welcome to Uncluttered and Unfiltered, the podcast urging you to let it go and don't look back. With nationally acclaimed professional organizer Christine Stone and self-proclaimed hot damn mess radio and TV personality Eden Kendall.
Welcome, everybody. It's Uncluttered and Unfiltered with me, Eden Kendall, and Christine Stone, a professional organizer.
Hey, everyone.
So today is going to be a little bit different. We want to talk about a couple of things, TV and movie related, like what have you watched lately? And this obviously won't be one of those timeless episodes that you're going to enjoy, 3 years from now. But if you are like I am, and you're always looking for your next great watch, whether it be a movie or whether it be a TV series, then maybe you'll get some inspiration because we feel like we're all people here, right? We're your people if you're 50 and over.
Well, and also I loved this because it'll also show how different you and I are by even what we watch.
You're not wrong.
I mean, it's going to be fun.
All right, so let's start out first of all. And by the way, we have asked you guys on our Facebook page and our group, our private group.
I love the group. I just, they are such an inspiration.
And
honestly, I love it.
Yeah,
love
it. Women over like 40 to 50 years old to 60 to 70, you can join it. And we ask a lot of these questions that we discuss in advance so that we can use your input on the podcast. So we'll get around to what everybody else says they've been watching in a little bit. But first of all, do you want to talk at all about movies, or do you want to just go straight to series?
I kind of mixed them all in.
Okay,
so, I mean, there's no right. Some are movies. Some, I just mixed them all in there. I mean, you're going to laugh at mine. I mean, we're going to start off with the Madoff Monster of Wall Street on Netflix. I mean, anything Bernie Madoff
really
fascinates me.
Does it?
Okay, so here's why it fascinates me. Because I cannot understand for the life of me how someone could have done what he did for so long. Okay, that's the first thing. And then ruin everything in his life, his wife, his children, his grandchildren, without even ever thinking what that would do to the people who were with him all these years, his employees, the ones that weren't in on it. And also the government. I'm fascinated that they didn't know about this, even though someone tried to tell them a gazillion times what was happening. So it fascinates me. I've watched every Madoff thing. And it's, to see in this documentary, it just is so sad. I mean, he lost both his sons, one of them to suicide. His wife was living in her car for a while. It just, to me, when people blow up their lives for money, I find greed to be something, people say they're psychologically unhinged, but I don't know. There are a lot of people that do fraud and they don't go and do these kind of things. They'll do smaller fraud things, but they don't ruin their families, their lives, everything else. So I find that fascinating. It's on Netflix. It's like a series. Watched them all. I thought it was great.
Now, there is a series that's just called, I think it's called Greed.
Yeah, I watched that too.
Now that's one we watch. I like a good documentary. American Greed. That's right. I like a good documentary as well. Now right off the bat, I'm going to tell you though, if I'm listing my favorites, one of them is not going to be like that kind of show.
Yes.
It's not going to be a true crime. It's not going to be a Bernie Madoff. It's not going to be anything like that. And that right there shows you
how different
a big
we are.
Difference. But you're all over the board. So give me something that's contrary to that.
Okay. Well, I really, really loved a movie that many people probably haven't even watched yet because it's brand new, but it's called Ticket to Paradise with George Clooney.
I've seen it.
Oh, you saw it?
I have no complaints.
And Julia Roberts. I thought it was absolutely so funny. I mean, just cute. First of all, I like their chemistry as parents. And I wrote what this is about so people could look it up. It's a divorced couple teams up and travels to Bali to stop their daughter from making the mistake they made 25 years ago, which is to get married very spur of the moment. And I thought it was so cute. And as a woman over 50, being parents and of kids who are of that age, you're like, oh my God, what would I do if out of nowhere within 3 months, my daughter wanted to marry someone who lived in Bali and wanted to live there? So I thought it was cute. Very cute.
It was absolutely adorable.
Adorable.
It was so, so cute.
And loved Julia Roberts in it.
The other part of that, you sometimes wonder, like, what creates somebody to become a superstar versus the people that are just kind of these stars. So, like, why are some people A-listers? And when you see those two, you know.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it's just clear. They are just absolute movie stars.
I love the chemistry between the two of them, too. I thought it was so well done. I mean, for a romantic comedy, I thought it was really cute.
Now, the thing with my husband, he likes a bad movie. He doesn't care how campy and cheesy and silly it is, whereas I have a hard time. I get annoyed. So there was a movie that was also recently out. I want to say it was Netflix or Amazon Prime, I want to say, with Jennifer Lopez. Did you see that one, Shotgun Wedding?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that's one that reminds me of that because they're going to, they're on a location. It's for a wedding. But this one is more like, there's like a gang overtakes them. It's more of an action flick.
Oh, isn't Josh Duhamel in that? I like him a lot, so that's a good one. I would watch it.
I always go on Rotten Tomatoes, and it seems like the critics did not care for it, but the audience did, and I just care more about what the audience thinks.
I like those kind of movies. The Wedding Planner.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
She's always good. She can't do wrong by me.
I like her movies a lot, too. I do. So the next one on my list, and we can't get away without talking about this, is the Murdaugh Murders Deadly Dynasty.
What?
Yeah. Alec Murdaugh, you know what's going on with that. The man who is on trial this week, even as we speak, for the murder of his son and his wife.
Ugh,
so
it's disgusting.
This was on Prime. There are so many coming out right now. There's another one coming out next week on Netflix. Another one that I find fascinating. I don't care what anyone says. I cannot believe this man. I believe he did it, but I cannot believe another man would ruin his entire family, would kill his wife and son over them all finding out that he's been scamming people for over a decade and has no money. Getting rid of his wife because they say she was thinking of divorcing him. And of course, the son was in a prior lawsuit, drinking while boating and killing one of the girls on the boat. So they were going to look into his finances because he was held legally responsible. I cannot get enough of this. I watch it on Court TV because it's another time I say, really? Like, this is what's important to you. This is how you see life, that everything comes down, that you're going to be found out about stealing from your clients, from your law firm. I think it's the fascination psychologically, how people, number one, think they're going to get away with it. In this day and age with cell phones, DNA, all the technology, filming, I cannot, to this moment, think people can think they're going to get away with something without somebody knowing.
That's the thing for me, too. The very idea that somebody thinks that they're going to be able to pull something off like that, it's one thing if it's crime of passion, it happens very suddenly, and then after the fact, they're just doing their darndest to try to clean it up. But these premeditated killings where they think that they are going to fool, the tells that people have, we don't even know. Which brings me to another show that I started yesterday called Poker Face.
Absolutely.
You're watching it.
Love that. Well, us from the 70s, it's the Columbo all over again.
It's just because it's every week it's a new murder mystery, and it's ridiculous because she has no business being around all these different murders, but yet everywhere she goes, and it's Natasha Lyonne who I love from Orange is the New Black,
love her,
and Russian Doll,
love her
so much, and she plays a character that can read a person's face. If they're lying,
she knows they're lying.
She knows instantly, 100%, if it's true or false. And I'm only one episode in.
I've watched them all.
You have?
I've watched them all
up
to this point.
They go down easy.
Well, and not only that, if you are somebody from the 70s early 80s with the Columbo, the Rockford Files, you could go on and on. It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of really refreshing.
It is.
And she is so great. And they have new celebrities in each episode. I love it.
Yeah,
I have
so
to tell you, I love it.
It goes back to that standard cop show
Yes.
that you get it wrapped up with a nice bow at the
Love
end, but
it.
there's the ongoing undercurrent too, and Benjamin Bratt's in it, who is
Love
delicious.
him.
Delicious. I love him so much. So that's, obviously we're both together on that one.
Yes.
So every now and again, the Venn diagram comes together, and they're in the middle as a show that the two of us both love.
I definitely.
What about White Lotus?
I watched White Lotus. I definitely liked the second season better
Yes.
than the first season.
Yes.
I don't know if it was, the first one was in Hawaii, but I don't know if it was the location or I love Michael Imperioli, who,
The Sopranos.
Yeah, from The Sopranos. I love him. I just thought it was so well done. I did not like the ending, though. I have to tell you.
Let's not. I had just had a conversation today, and this is why I busted in for that. I had a conversation today where I was telling my co-host on our radio morning show on Gator Country, Amadeus, I said, what's a spoiler that people don't realize is a spoiler? When someone says, there's a twist, or I didn't believe the ending, because then you're not. I like when you get complacent and comfortable when you're watching a show, and then boom, you're like, what?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. I would have picked a different ending.
Me too.
I would have. That doesn't mean it was any less entertaining the way it is. It's just not what I would have picked because, for many reasons. Should we take a break and look at what some of our folks on our ladies only page
and
have
let's
said?
see if we are all in sync.
Okay, so George and Tammy got a couple of votes. George and Tammy.
I did want to see that. I just haven't seen it yet.
It looks like, and I love this because I was going to talk about this, that 90s show.
I didn't see the first
That
70s show, believe it or not. And we all know I'm a 70s, freak, but I never was into that show the first go round. So when they do all these remakes, if I wasn't into it the first go round, not really into it.
Funny you would say that because we watched that 90s show with only having seen an occasional episode of that 70s show. Enough to know who all the characters were by name, but not enough to really have followed it all the way through. But once we got through that 90s show, which was adorable, just absolutely adorable, we have now started from the beginning of that 70s show. And we love it. We love it.
Oh, yeah.
I think you would love it too.
I think I would if I just had the time to watch it from the 70s, then now to the new one.
The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
Ginger's watching that.
I started watching that during COVID just because there was nothing else to do.
Right.
And it got so lifelike and real
that dystopian
that I quit
future,
watching it. So I have never finished watching that. And sometimes you forget what you're watching when they have such a long amount of time in between seasons. I'm like, I forget I even watched that. How did it end? So sometimes I lose interest.
And that happened to me too, because the first season pretty much wraps up the book the way the book would have gone.
Okay.
And so in my mind, or at least I believe that's the case. That's what I was thinking when it ended. And then I feel like it went on beyond that. And I thought, well, that's not, and it doesn't matter because it's fiction either way.
Right.
But I'm with you when things start to get a little too real, which brings us to that one that everybody is raving on right now with the pandemic. The one that, the last one, is that what it's called? What's it called? The Last
of Us?
The Last of Us.
Yeah, I definitely can't. I told my daughter too soon, can't do it. My husband watched the whole thing and he loved it. Can't do it. Won't do it.
That is one where it's a pandemic, which is why you're saying it's a little too close to home.
Yes.
And it causes cannibalism, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
right?
I don't even know.
It's getting rave reviews.
Yeah, no, but everyone I know loves it. It's just not something I think even though I know it's even unrealistic, we're not all going to turn into zombies, whatever. I can't do any pandemic things too soon.
Well, there's two more I want to ask you from this list, and then I want to get back to your list. So Yellowstone.
Oh, well, I mean, of course I watch Yellowstone.
I believe it or not, I do not. I tried and I didn't.
The sacrilege.
Really?
Are you serious? Oh my gosh.
I need to, don't I?
Oh, you have to. You have to. I love Kevin Costner. I love the whole entire cast. I have to say, I like the first couple seasons the best so far. But I mean, I've never been to Montana, but it makes me want to go so bad just because it's so beautiful.
Is that where they actually film it though?
Yeah,
I know they filmed some of it in Utah.
They filmed some in Utah, and
but all that mountainy stuff.
It's beautiful. It's like Dynasty. You know what I mean? Or Dallas from the 70s. It's like a soap opera type thing.
You know why I know that part of it is filmed in Utah? Because when we went to Utah a few years ago, we were at a restaurant and the server said, Kevin Costner just left. And everyone at the table was like, yeah, they film around here for Yellowstone. And I was like, what's Yellowstone? This is back then.
Yeah.
Back then.
No, I do like it.
So the other one I wanted to ask you about, because it's a throwback to when we were kids, Wednesday.
You know what? Everyone loved it. Everybody. There isn't one person who did not, but I actually did not watch it.
Okay. I loved it, obviously, as somebody who grew up on the Addams Family. I have not loved all the movies, but I loved the little girl that played Wednesday, and I thought it was just an adorable
cast. She recently
cast.
died, the girl who played the original.
one, yes.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. That was some interesting timing there. But the when I just hope there's another season. I think I heard there will be. And that's really great. So what else do you have on your list?
Well, I have to talk about the Pamela Anderson love story.
We liked that too.
On Netflix. The reason why is I really didn't know much about Pamela Anderson, even though, I was an adult when she was doing all her acting on Baywatch and Playboy and all that kind of stuff. This was so real. I mean, I've never seen, I think, no makeup on, let her son, produced it and was in charge of everything. Her relationship with her children just blew me away.
Okay, we're talking about two different shows. You're talking about the documentary version thing.
On Netflix.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I was referring to Pam and Tommy, which
is...
no.
Okay,
I liked that.
No, well, no.
But again, that's more me. I would rather watch the dramatization.
Yeah, no, this is the real thing.
Okay.
And, you learn... I'm fascinated about learning of people's childhoods because I feel your childhood creates who you are as an adult.
Right.
And there are things that she reveals in this that are heart-wrenching. I mean, absolutely heart-wrenching. She had such a terrible childhood, such an upbringing of dysfunction. And it's no wonder she married him, but he was the true love of her life. And the minute he became abusive, that was it. He had one shot. She never took him back. She didn't give him another chance. And to me, that says something to women everywhere that, you do this once, it's over. There is no coming back. And just how she has held herself in her life. Yes, she's been married a lot, but she's honest about that too, that she's trying to refined that love she had with Tommy Lee, and she just can't. And so now she's basically given up and where she is today. I loved it. I think sometimes you think you know somebody, but you never really know them until you have them tell their truth, not somebody else telling it about them, but them telling their truth. And I thought she was amazing.
Well, it sounds like that was a lot more fair and a lot more accurate than what I saw. Mine was super enjoyable, but it certainly doesn't seem like it was the right telling based on things that I'm hearing now.
Yes, it was not, according to her.
Now, we haven't talked about any movies, and we don't have to. We originally said we would, but we don't have to, other than the George and Julia movie. You People. You
on
saw
Netflix.
It with Eddie
a
Murphy.
Movie. That's Well, okay. I love Eddie Murphy, so to have him come back in a comedy role, I mean,
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I absolutely loved her in this. I have to say, it is definitely a millennial thing. I mean, it's I'm going to read what it's about because it's kind of hard to explain unless you, but it's families and culture clash when two LA millennials from different backgrounds fall in love and face the ultimate relationship test of meeting the parents. And I didn't like the chemistry of Jonah Hill and what was her name? The girl that played, Lauren London. I didn't like the chemistry. I liked her and I loved Jonah Hill. Eddie Murphy was hysterically funny and Julia Louis-Dreyfus was hilarious.
Because they are a white Jewish family and marrying into an African-American family.
Yes. Okay. And how each... it just shows the differences in such funny ways, which I found very funny.
Well, I what I like is a movie that will explore the actual culture because, you know, people are people, but we all come from different backgrounds regardless. I mean, we all have cultural things that stand out. So I'm glad to know that's a good movie because it was on my list of ones to watch.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I really thought it was cute. I mean, it's another funny comedy. And there were some serious parts in it just to, you know, it's a romantic movie, you know, where what happens at the end, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I liked it. I thought it was definitely worth watching. Let's see.
So I had one that I had asked you about, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And that was an Oscar, big Oscar movie. And I loved that movie with Michelle Yeoh. It was a very kind of a multi-universe kind of movie and a little bit odd. But you and I have very different, we've already established, I love all things Marvel. Our family loves all these superheroes. I've seen one
Marvel thing.
We love superheroes.
I don't like any sci-fi at all.
So we
anything
love Star Wars,
sci-fi.
Marvel.
No, never seen Star Wars ever. Not
See, there you go.
One thing. But my husband has seen all of them. So, you know, you always have one person who's into the sci-fi.
Yeah, you got to.
Okay, so back in, I love talking about this just because of our ages. Remember in the old days, you had 3 channels and the 4th one was PBS.
Yes.
And your parents would go, come on, we're going to watch a documentary. And you would roll your eyes and be like, oh my God.
Right. A documentary was never something
you
wanted to see.
On PBS, you were like, oh God, it's like watching paint dry or something. Well, now this is my fascination is watching documentaries. And I just saw one on Dionne Warwick, which was phenomenal. I mean, absolute. I can't tell you how great it was. I loved it.
Because remember, she had the Psychic Friends Network.
Well,
right?
They get into that as well.
I'm sure.
And so much you didn't know about her that she was the first Black performer to break in to popular music.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she was the one. That's what Friends Are For. Was the first person who would talk about AIDS and raise money for it. And that song raised $3 million for AIDS research when a time when no one would even touch someone with AIDS, let alone hug them, raise money for them. I mean, she was a very, very remarkable woman and, of course, singer. I mean, if you like Dionne Warwick songs, which who doesn't? I mean,
you know, my dad actually wrote a book a long time ago called Black Sheep Marketing. And he's not with us anymore, but he was not just a professor, but he was a grant writer and worked a lot with charities. And it was an entire book about marketing nonprofits that have a stigma. And it was because AIDS came out at that time. And so it was very difficult to raise money. And I could say my dad literally wrote the book.
Yes.
On raising money for what some people find not to be palatable charities.
You'll love it.
So that is speaking of PBS, something that brings us to Downton Abbey. What about those kinds of shows? Do you get into a good soapy upstairs, downstairs?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I do
love that stuff.
I mean, there are ones, but see, that's the thing. Then they go away, like Outlander. I loved it.
That's right, you did.
But then it's gone, and then I forget which season I'm on, and then it comes back.
They take too long, is what you're saying.
I can't stand when they take too long because I can't remember what it was about.
That's how Dead to Me was.
Yeah.
And I understand why it took so long, but that's how Dead to Me was.
I don't know.
Dropped off on that, which was another great Netflix series.
I didn't watch that one either.
That one's really good.
But that I have seen some of The Crown, you know. I mean, I do watch it. It all depends what it is.
Right.
You know, it just all depends. And I think for me, I mean, there's one new show that just started called The Accused.
Okay. That sounds like a you show.
And that's on Netflix. I mean, on FX. And it's an anthology series, follows people accused of crimes as each person awaits the verdict of his or her trial. So each episode, it is like you said, it starts and wraps it up with a bow at the end, but it starts with them in court, and then it goes to their backstory of how they ended up, being convicted of a crime. And then you kind of are the judge because it's always something like, you're the things that are popular, but you're torn. Should they be convicted or should they be found not guilty? Because there's really a gray line.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's very short. It's not like long attention span, but I've watched 3 now. They're weekly.
Do you watch this with your husband who is a defense attorney? Because it seems to me like he'd be able to pull out the answer.
Oh, he always does. I mean, he hasn't watched this one yet, but if you're watching any crime show, he'll always be the first one to say, in real life, that doesn't happen in the courtroom. In real life,
Yeah.
And like when I'm watching Law and Order, another show I really like, SUV, he'll do that all the time. This is TV stuff. It doesn't happen like that. And I'm like, go in the other room. You're ruining my visions.
Well, that kind of brings us to the end of this episode, although I'm sure we haven't skimmed the surface because, I think every show I've mentioned, I've just watched in the last few months. We get it. People are like, when do you watch? I just, sometimes it's even just on my phone in my bed. I don't even have a TV in my bedroom. So I'm just on my phone watching these shows because I don't know how to work the remotes in my house.
God,
I don't know
funny.
I don't know how to turn on any TV. So if my husband isn't home to help me, he has like 4 remotes per TV. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Why can't we just have on, off, and volume?
Well, that's what we have. So we have like the old style remotes. It's very easy, but
not for us.
But I'm a binge watcher. So I like
Same
to
here.
wait and just watch everything instead of watching weekly.
Well, we do want to know what you think. Uncluttered and Unfiltered Ladies Only on Facebook is one way. The other way is to go to unclutteredandunfiltered.com and get on our email list. It's very easy to do it there.
I'm anxious to see everyone's response, and because this is a topic I would love to do again, just because.
Like maybe every 6 weeks.
Yeah,
or
I
so.
love it. I find it fascinating to even know from everyone on the Facebook group what they're watching.
Same. I love this too. Betsy says, and I know Betsy said this doesn't surprise me. She said she ran 20 miles on a treadmill watching Firefly Lane.
I heard that's so good, and I
read
haven't
the
watched
book,
it yet.
so I feel like I don't know if I want to watch it, but I think I might because
I'm
everyone
going to
raves
watch
on
it. I'm going to watch it.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Remember, with all things in your life, you can let it go.
And don't look back.